right now, there are the top 53 Marvel characters on your screen right now. Some of them might be cut off, but they'll go as I rank some of them. And I'm just going to be ranking them. You can see the tiers go from GOAT, which means greatest of all time, if you didn't know, to shit tier. And I'm just going to say everything in okay or above, I mean, I'm going to like. So if you agreed, just don't get too mad. And let me know in the comments who your highest and lowest rated characters are. You don't have to do the whole thing, obviously, since 53 is a lot, and I'm just insane for doing it. So starting off, we have Mark Ruffalo's Bruce Banner / Hulk, because Hulk's not on here separately, so they're both as the same. And this gets great just because of the arc that he's had throughout the movies without actually having his own movie, because obviously Mark Ruffalo didn't have the Hulk movie, that was Edward Norton. So the arc that he's been able to have, he just went from kind of brute in Avengers, Endgame, then obviously he's Professor Hulk, and transformation in between there is just amazing. Stuff like Thor Ragnarok, where he's a little bit more funnier and has some more character, and he's good in Age of Ultron as Bruce Banner, and you see a little bit of the Hulk starting to become a little bit more human-like in that, so he goes in the great tier. Next up we have Bucky, and he goes in the great tier because this is not ranking heroes, this is the characters all around. And him as the Winter Soldier, even though he doesn't have that big of a role, like, he has a huge role in the movie, but he's not, like, saying or doing a lot directly in Winter Soldier. Just the effects and the emotional pull that has with him and Captain America's connection. That's one of my favorite movies in the MCU, and it's all because of this whole Bucky connection thing. And just him and Captain America, just so great. And in Endgame, the payoff when you know that he talked to Captain America first, probably, and that's why he knows that Falcon's going to get the shield, even though he has a super serum. I just love this character, and I'm excited to see what he does with Falcon in the show. Next up, we have Carol Danvers, or Captain Marvel, and she just goes in okay for now. I enjoyed her movie enough. I've seen it a couple times. Endgame, I didn't really like her in at all. I think Endgame actually hurt her, which I was surprised. Thought the Russo brothers were gonna, like, just do something with her character. I get that she's not supposed to show her emotions and stuff like that, but if they're gonna make her kind of like a quippy Tony Stark-like character, they gotta make her at least funny, or they just gotta fall into she just doesn't know how to actually show emotions yet, but she's just in this weird place and it doesn't come off good to me. Next up we have Hawkeye, and I might get some hate for this, but I'm putting him in the okay tier. I just don't really feel like, not just because his powers aren't great, I just feel like it just doesn't seem like he cares. He doesn't fit into the MCU. Like, I feel like Jeremy Renner, he just kind of feels like a guy that just doesn't really care that much. Just kind of there to play the role and leave. And like I said, there's only so much you can do with this character. I think the stuff with his family and stuff could be interesting, and they're going to explore the Ronin character more in his own show. And that show might be the perfect spotlight for him to be in for me to like him more, but just in the roles he's had so far, I just feel like they've underutilized him and just kind of have him as this guy that's just there. Next up we have Drax, and he goes in the good tier. Now, obviously, he's funny, and that's his main thing, and he is actually funny, so that helps that it's not just trying to be funny, because there are some characters later that I'll point out that just fail at being funny when their whole purpose is to be. But he has that, and he has the whole thing with Thanos and his family, and now that Thanos is gone, that kind of ends, but I still think he can have some interesting arcs in the future movies, and once again, he's always a great comedy relief. Next up, we have Nick Fury, and I'm putting him in the God tier. I just feel like this is one of those staple characters in the MCU. It wouldn't be the same without him. He's just so iconic, and all his lines feel like they're quotable. And just, you couldn't imagine anyone else saying the lines that he says. He just delivers them so perfectly, and he just has the attitude of Nick Fury down perfect. Next up, we have Gamora, and she goes in the good tier next to Drax here. And I just think she's just okay. You know, she's a good character for now. There's nothing bad bringing her down from good. She's not supposed to be funny, but she is kind of like the straight-faced one, and she fits good in that role. She's, you know, she's the normal one in this weird group. I mean, normal for a green, you know, person, but she's the straight-faced one in the group that kind of keeps them level. But now the stuff with evil Gamora, I think it's going to be really interesting. It's a shame that we won't get Guardians 3 until at least 2022, no earlier than that. But I really think she's done good in the movie she's in. The scene in Infinity War with her and Thanos is one of the best scenes in the movie, when she doesn't realize that Thanos actually loves her, and then she gets sacrificed. And like I said, I think she could have some good moments in the new movies now that she's the past Gamora in the future. Next up we have Groot, and I know I'm gonna get hate, but I'm just looking like unbiased, just as a character. And if you really think of the character of Groot, yes, it's kind of cute to have a tree that only says I am Groot. And he has a good moment in that Guardians 1 and some okay moments where in Infinity War where he cuts off his arm and stuff to make the hammer for Thor. So he has good moments. I'm not saying he's a bad character, but he's just okay. I mean, you can't tell me that he's way better than Captain Marvel and Hawkeye, who've been in a million movies, when he's only a guy that says I am Groot. Next up we have Happy, and I think Happy is good in what he's been in. He doesn't have the biggest roles ever in movies. In Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home were his biggest. He's always kind of there. He's there for Spider-Man, which is good. Him and Tony had a good relationship. Maybe we'll see more. We saw a little bit in Far From Home. We might see a little bit more of him and Tony's, what their friendship was, and him talking about that in future Spider-Mans and stuff. And I think it's a good character to have Peter Parker bounce off of. Once again, he doesn't really do too much, but there's nothing really bad about him, so I can't put him lower than good tier. Next on our list is Heimdall, and I'm going to put him in the good tier. I was thinking about great. I'm going to put him great. I just like Heimdall. I don't really know why. I just like how him and Thor, you know, how they had that chemistry thing and how they work together, and in Ragnarok especially. In the first two movies, he's good too, but I just like this character. I really wish they didn't kill him off. Just a good guy that Thor could always trust, and he always did the right thing and helped everyone out. I just wish they didn't kill him off. I don't really have too much of a reasoning, just kind of, I like this character. Next up we have the Wasp, and I'm going to put her in the great tier. I think just because of solely Ant-Man and the Wasp. In the first Ant-Man movie, when she's not the Wasp yet, I mean, she's fine, but nothing special. But in Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think she really became the best character, and her and Paul Rudd just kind of are kind of like the opposite thing again. She kind of has like a moral role of kind of like keeping him grounded, even though it's just those two. She's more grounded, and he's just kind of out of place and lost, and she knows what she's doing. She's serious and gets it done, and just works really well in that movie. And it's not likely we're going to see another Ant-Man, it doesn't look like, but I would love to see her and Ant-Man back, or maybe get a Disney Plus series in a future phase. Next up we have Korg, who's going to go in good tier, and I know you're going to hate me for putting him in good tier, but you just have to realize he just has too small of a role in the entire MCU and in his movies. He's just a funny character, and I love him in those, but I just can't put him up higher. I know, but he doesn't really have any effect on the greatest story. He's just that good, funny character. And he was playing Fortnite, which, I mean, maybe he could be in great tier if he wasn't playing Fortnite. So next up we have Loki, and we're going to have our first GOAT tier character here. He's been in so many movies, and he's great in every single one of them. He's like the only good part about Thor: The Dark World. Without him, that movie is absolute trash, but he makes it somewhat watchable. And part of the reason it's bad because they lock him up, literally lock him up in a jail for half the movie. Once he comes out, it's already better. I know people don't like the fake death things, but I think it works in these movies with him, and you get the payoff at the end. It's a very sad death, but with Loki in the end. And now we're gonna get his story, but he's just so, you never know what he's gonna do in these movies. He's so back and forth, you can't ever tell. You always think he's gonna be good for once and for all. He's just gonna stay there, and then he turns evil the next second, or does something like steal the Tesseract for the 5th time, and you can't trust him again. Now we have Mantis, and she's going in the bottom tier. I'm sorry, I just don't find her funny, and she doesn't have much to do besides be funny. In Infinity War, she doesn't really have anything to do. I don't find, like I said, her main thing is the humor, like Drax, but I don't think her humor works at all. Maybe it's just not for me. I just find it cringeworthy every time she has a joke, and the whole thing in Guardians 2 where the whole punchline is her just getting made fun of is just kind of weird, and I just don't care for this character at all. Next up we have Maria Hill. She's going in the okay tier. I feel like she's not the best actor to play this, but she does do fine. I mean, she's just one of those characters, again, like, if I look at the grand scheme of things, she doesn't have too much to do. I mean, her and Nick Fury, like, you feel like, yes, they work together, but they kind of have a friendship that's been brewing because they're just been friends for so long, but you don't really ever get to see them actually just be friends or anything, which I get. It's not like we're gonna get a buddy cop comedy with those two, but I just feel like we never get to see any actually character moments for her besides the Winter Soldier. She has that one good scene where she's dressed up as Hydra and takes them down in that van. But once again, I just feel like it could be an actor that could be replaced in this role and doesn't do the character anything great or bad, so she's just okay. Next we have Black Widow, and I'm going to put her in the great tier. Not highest tiers yet, because maybe the movie will change that. She is good. She's the best part of Hawkeye. Obviously I didn't have Hawkeye very high, but In Endgame, you really do get a sense that this is her whole life now. These heroes defeating Thanos, that's it. And then obviously they pay it off with the ultimate sacrifice, where she ends up jumping off and sacrificing herself instead of Hawkeye, because he has a family and this is all she has left. But her arc has been pretty good, because she was okay and good for those movies and like Iron Man 2 and stuff, but she really became more of a character in these later movies. So good development, just not the greatest. And once again, her powers obviously aren't that exciting because she doesn't really have any. Moving on, we have Nebula, and she's gonna get the good tier. And this is like another movie that I think Endgame is the other movie also. And Endgame is coming in and saving another character again. And I think Endgame is her best performance. Obviously, you see that she actually cares and she tries to make the right decisions. Finally, she's not evil anymore, even though there is an evil version of her in this movie. But she makes the right choices. I did not like her in Guardians 2, really. I didn't buy into that. But I feel like the stuff with her and Gamora works more with Infinity War and Endgame, more than the Guardians movies. But once again, because of those two movies alone and how she was in those, she gets the good tier for me. Next we have Okoye, and another good tier character, works perfectly along with Black Panther, and you can just see she's just someone with good intentions that just wants to serve the throne and believe in good. Once again, I'm excited to see more for this character. We haven't had the most yet, but she hasn't been into much, so I can't hold that against her. And Black Panther 2 is going to be coming, just not for a while. So, good character, can't wait to see more. Next up, we have Peter Quill, or Star-Lord. I know everybody loves these Guardians, and it's my unpopular opinion that I don't really care for the Guardians movies. One I like better than two, but both of them aren't my favorites. And I just don't really care for Peter Quill that much. Like, yes, he has kind of a good storyline, and his stuff with his mother, and the idea with his dad is fine, but that whole thing in Guardians 2 didn't work for me. He's another character that relies a little bit too much on humor, and just undercuts some things, and isn't really funny all the time. And when you're a character that relies on humor, you kind of have to be funny. And like I said, they have emotional stuff here with his dad and his mother and all this tragic stuff that happened, but I feel like they don't ever dig in deep enough. And obviously in Infinity War, he just makes one of the worst decisions. So I'm not making it solely off that Infinity War decision where he messed everything up, but that's definitely not helping him. Next up, we have Agent Coulson. Phil Coulson, great character. I really wish he got to live longer in the MCU. Obviously, I think he's in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I haven't watched that. He's just a good guy, once again, trying to do the right thing. And everybody can support a guy that's just trying to do the right thing. You even see that early on established in Captain Marvel. Once again, really wish we just got more screen time with him, but sadly, we did not. But he is still a good character. Next, we have the mom of Maria Rambeau in Captain Marvel that I don't remember her name. She's just okay. I mean, I didn't really feel like it just felt forced, her and Carol's relationship being like best friends for life. And honestly, part of that is that Carol doesn't remember anything, so it's not like they're gonna act like best friends and stuff. But I just feel like this wasn't completely needed, but it's probably gonna make more sense because it's setting up stuff that's gonna happen in WandaVision eventually. So they're always thinking ahead, but I think this time they were just too many steps ahead. And once again, I just feel like this didn't have the emotional payoff it like was supposed to have, and that's kind of the whole issue with Captain Marvel. It's like she doesn't know how to show emotions, so then the movie doesn't know how to really have those emotional payoffs. So just an okay character. Next up, we have Rhodey, or War Machine. Great character. I think the actor replacement is actually good. A lot of people don't, but I liked it. Someone you get to see actually be friends with Tony, and obviously it's cool to see another guy in an Iron Man suit as always. And he just has the good comedy relief and just a well-rounded character for just being in cameos most of the time, and has some cool scenes in the MCU. Next up, we have Rocket, and I'm going to put him in the great tier. I feel like with Endgame and Infinity War also, this boosted him up. He has funny moments. He has the same character. He doesn't really change. He's always doing kind of things that he shouldn't, always looking for things to steal. And you can see him and Groot's connection in Infinity War, but you just see that he's the same character. He doesn't get changed left and right just to fit whatever movie's in. He's just him, and it just works no matter what he's in some reason. Endgame, he has some good moments, and Guardians movies, I think he's some of the best parts. And in Infinity War, when he's gets called the rabbit like 15 times by Thor, that's one of the best running gags in that movie. Next up, we have Anthony Mackie's Falcon. Another great tier, and we're going to get to see more of this, and I think the show will be the best thing for him. That just seems like a perfect fit for this character. Once again, brings the humor, does the right thing, helps Captain America, and kind of the perfect kind of opposite of Captain America. He's not a super soldier. He still does the right thing, but he's cracking jokes and doing stuff. and just not Cap, but they work so well together. Sadly, we're not going to see that anymore, but him and Sebastian Stan should be good in that show. Now we have Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, and I'm putting him in the God tier, I think. I'm not going to go all the way up, just because he just works, once again, with the humor, because that's a huge thing for these characters and these movies. Very funny character, always works. He just kind of out of place, and it's fun to watch these small-scale Ant-Man movies, and him in the other movies. He just feels so out of place. He's learning everything, and you're learning with him how his powers work, how to be a superhero, what it's like. Him and his daughter's connection is really good. Sadly, we're not going to get to see any more of that since she's older now, and once again, there might not even be another Ant-Man movie, but all that works really, really great. Next, we have Shuri, and I'm going to put her in OK tier. Once again, I feel like this is a character that's kind of put in for comic relief, and the humor just doesn't work for me. Obviously, she's very, very smart. I get to see her doing some things and trying to like get the stone out of Vision's head at the end, and she's probably a part of saving Bucky and stuff, but I just wish we could see actually more of her actually being smart instead of just hearing how smart she is and looking at the stuff she's done. But that will probably come in the Black Panther sequel, so there's always room for her to move up. Next we have Tom Holland's Spider-Man, and this is going all the way up to the GOAT tier for me. It took me a while to come around to this. After I watched Homecoming the first time, I liked it, but I wasn't in love with it. Then after watching Infinity War and Endgame and Far From Home, I rewatched Homecoming, and it just all works for me. So anyways, moving on, we have Captain America. Not a surprise going in the top tier. Just a guy that stays true through all the movies from phase 1 to 3 to his values. You see that he just wants to do what's right, and you know, Tony's kind of the opposite of that, so that creates that conflict. But he's just such a good character, and he's always pretty much in the right, it feels like. And he's just trying to learn how to live in this new world, and then obviously the things with him and Peggy are just amazing. All the scenes and the payoffs, so no question about it, GOAT tier for him. Moving right on to Doctor Strange, I'm going to put in the God tier for now. I think Doctor Strange 2 could put him up into that GOAT tier though. Even in the first movie alone, we see the transition he makes from just being this asshole closed off guy who doesn't want to listen to anything to accepting it and learning new powers and things about life. And then obviously in Infinity War and stuff, he has huge roles and a huge, like, the story wouldn't happen without him because he knows he has to give the time stone to Thanos in order for them to end up winning. But it's just a great character all around, and I really can't wait to see Doctor Strange 2. Sounds insane, and it should be great. Continuing our list, we have T'Challa or Black Panther, and I'm going to put him in the great tier. We need to see more from him. I really enjoyed Black Panther, but that was mainly because of Killmonger. I feel like I didn't really feel that much for Black Panther. I feel like he had a better story in Civil War almost with his father, and I was trying to get vengeance, and then he finally sees what he's doing. But I thought that was good. I thought the endgame scene with him running around is great. I think there's great potential here, but the CGI fights and stuff, just too much, even though everything's CGI. That just looked too bad. And there just needs to be more character moments for him in the next movie. Next up, we have Thanos going in the GOAT tier. Absolutely amazing villain. Probably, not even probably, the best villain in the MCU. Probably one of the top 3 villains in movies all time on my list. Just an amazing villain. I loved Infinity War, how we actually get to see his story, and his motivations are skewed, but you still see where he's coming from and why. And he's a broken, not human, but he's a broken character. He's lost everything, and he truly believes in his mission. And he's just a great character, great fight scenes, which also helps. And he's just powerful with the stones without, and he's very, very smart. Like I said, his plan's not good, and he can't see that it's wrong, but he is a very smart character, and his mind is part of the reason he wins in the first movie. And also, it's kind of like quiet, but the thing that about him, like, making them make the choices that, oh, you could have stopped him, but they have to make a sacrifice, and they just couldn't pull the trigger on it. I love those things in Infinity War. For example, I'm talking about where he made Peter Quill shoot Gamora, and then it ended up not happening because he made the bullets bubbles. Just the things how he's messing with people's minds like that. Next we have Thor, who probably should go in the God tier just because, I mean, he's a god. But he's going up in the GOAT tier, and this is pretty much solely from Ragnarok on. He's earned this. In the first 2 movies, he's just kind of, they don't know what to do with him yet. They're trying to make him funny in the first one, and then the serious god figure in the second one. And they don't really land the humor in the first one, and it's just not the right tone in the second movie. Then with Ragnarok, YTT comes around and finally puts all of it together. There was a little bit too much humor, I feel like, but that's not really Thor's fault. That's just some of the other people in the movie. I think he's a great character. Now he's so broken. You can see in Endgame how it just affected him. And yes, they made it a little dramatic and a little bit, of a comedy relief moment, but it is still there, the point of how he's just broken. He's lost everything and he blames himself for it. Great character arc, and we're going to be getting a 4th movie, and I just can't wait because he's still going to be in it even though it's Natalie Portman as Thor. Next up, is this even a question? Iron Man, obviously. GOAT tier. This is my favorite hero in the MCU, probably most of yours too. Once again, the character arc here, so many movies, you see him go from this asshole that doesn't care about anything, he's partying, getting drunk, then he learns, stuff about Stark Industries, and he learns what's right, and he just slowly becomes a better person. As Captain America says, he's not the guy to make the sacrifice play in Avengers, and then ever since Avengers on, he starts making those plays. He's just trying to do what's right. In all these movies, Ultron and Civil War, yes, he's kind of in the wrong on both, but he's trying to become a better person, and he sees what his actions have done, and he's just trying to become better. And then obviously the ultimate sacrifice in Endgame. First time I've cried in a Marvel or superhero movie, probably the last. Moving on, we have Valkyrie. She's going to go in the good tier for me. I think there's a lot of potential with this character as kind of like the balance out for Thor, and it's going to be interesting to see where Thor 4 picks up, because that's going to be the next time we see him after Endgame. Because Guardians 3 is going to take place after the ends of that movie, so that will be interesting. Moving on to Vision. I'm going to put him in, I really don't know, good or okay tier. I mean, he's not bad, but I just feel like the stuff with him and Wanda, I'm sure that's in the comics, but it doesn't feel right. I don't feel like they have the chemistry, but they're getting a whole show together, so apparently they do. That doesn't work for me. I mean, he's a super powerful being. His powers are 10 out of 10 for me. But just as a character, I liked him as Jarvis more than Vision. I'm just going to put him in okay tier, honestly. Him, Ultron was his best, and then ever since then, it just felt like they didn't know what to do with him, so they ended up just killing him off and having him in small cameos. And in Civil War, he's just there, but he's kind of sidelined until he shoots down Rhodey on accident. So other than that, I don't know. I don't think he's that great. Once again, Wanda and Vision could make this way better, who knows, but for now, he's just okay. Speaking of Wanda though, we have her up next. She's going in the God tier for me. The powers are amazing. The development from when she was first in Ultron, or actually she was in the post-credit of Winter Soldier, but from Ultron and there on, completely different character now. You can actually see she cares for people. She knows her powers are dangerous. That's mainly the thing in Civil War. And I think the half of her and Vision, she's definitely the better half for sure, and I'm just excited to see where this goes in Doctor Strange 2, really. Next up, we have Goldblum as the Grand Master. Honestly, this is a great tier character. Perfect humor. He's just a perfect guy for this. All the jokes, all the lines he has are just so fitting. Personality is great. I can't really say that much. He's only been in this movie, maybe in Eternals, but just a great character all around. Next up, we have M'Baku, and he's just okay for now. I like what he's done and how he brought his tribe down to fight and stuff. Once again, this is a character that we will probably get more of in Black Panther 2, but I just need more. Like, that's just the whole thing. I don't know much about him now. Once again, if you're a comic guy, you probably do, but in the movies, they haven't gone too deep into it, and he's just more of a side character, so he's just okay. Not bad, just okay. Next up, we have Pepper, another okay. I better not have too many more okays, because we're going to run out. I might have to expand this. If I do, though, I'll just add a second row for okay tier. But anyways, she's an okay tier. I don't know. I just feel like she's fine with Tony. Their chemistry is good. Kind of goes down, I feel like, and I just feel like it's a replaceable role. That's kind of what makes it an okay character for me. It just feels like someone else could be in here and could add more character to it, have more emotion in it. I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow has even said she doesn't even know what movie she's in sometimes, so I guess that makes sense. And continuing the list, we have Quicksilver, and here's another okay tier filling this up. This is just solely because we haven't seen enough of him, and we probably will never see him again. I don't know why they decided to keep Wanda in for all these movies and kill him off in the first one. I feel like there could have been more of an emotional payoff and more anger for Wanda. We would have felt more in that moment if we knew them longer. Maybe in Civil War he gets killed by Vision instead of Rhodey getting hurt. Something like that could have been cool, but just underutilized. Very sad, and we're probably never going to see him again in the MCU. Next up, we have Wong. He's a good guy, good character. Like, I'm not saying good character, like he has good character as a human. And like I said, he has some funny moments. He's good with Doctor Strange. They kind of have a good chemistry. They're kind of similar, but different enough where it works. And once again, just kind of a side character. There's not much I can really say, but he'll probably be in Doctor Strange too, and I'm really excited to see more of this character because I feel like there's a lot of potential there. Now, don't hate me. Kind of forgot her name. I think she's Agent 13 is what she is, but I forgot her actual character's name. I'm going to put her in okay tier. I mean, I found the whole romance thing in, I believe it's Civil War, with her being the niece of Peggy and Captain America. That was completely weird for me. And she's just one of those characters. She's not supposed to have a big role, obviously, but she hasn't really done much. But she's going to be in Falcon and Winter Soldier. And once again, I feel like for all three of those characters, that's the perfect role for them. Falcon, Winter Soldier, and whatever this character's name is that I can't remember. Sorry again. But I feel like that's the perfect thing. The movie's a little bit too big of scale for them, but in that TV show, I feel like if she has a big role in there, she could definitely move up. And I'll definitely do a tier list for the movies separately and the TV shows once those TV shows come out, because it could completely change this character in the MCU, and I feel like once again that's just the smaller scale that she needs. Next up we have Killmonger. I'm gonna put in great tier. Now I know some people think this is like the best villain we've ever had, but for me personally, I think he's just good. He's very good. I wish we could have got to see him longer. I feel like if they kept him alive it would have been more interesting. Obviously the fight scenes with him are not interesting, but that's not really his thing. He has good motivations, honestly, and his motivations honestly make more sense than the heroes, it seems. You kind of see where he's coming from, and like I said, you're kind of on his side for a little bit. Like, he's doing stuff that's bad, but you can kind of see where he's coming from, and that's the best thing about a villain. Once again, I just wish we got to see more of him, and I feel like they killed him off a little too early. Now, continuing on, we have Odin, and I think I'm just going to put him in okay. I don't know. This character, I never really felt like there's a connection between him and Thor or Loki, even though he's their father. The stuff they tell you about him in Hell is interesting, but the things he's actually been in the movies, he's just there. He's fine. He's just kind of preaching or dumping exposition, it feels like. And that's all I have to say. Like, he's not good. He's not bad in any way. He's just doing what he's got there. He has these lines written for him. There's not much he can do in the role. But like I said, the stuff they told about him before seems way more interesting than what we're actually seeing. Next up, we have the Skrulls. I'm going to put in the good tier. Captain Marvel, obviously, I think these are the best part of Captain Marvel. Just interesting characters and what they can do in the future. And obviously with Spider-Man Far From Home, there's definitely going to be a future for these Skrulls in the MCU. And it just, like I said, it's a very interesting concept of these things that can just switch into anything. And I think the twist with them and Captain Marvel, them being the good guys, is a very good twist. Best part of that movie, like I said, is the Skrulls. So they're the good tier. Not great, but just good. Next up, we have Jane Foster. And this is not, Thor, the woman Thor. Jane Foster alone is the bottom tier. She is terrible in this. You can tell Natalie Portman didn't want to be in it. Dark World's just a bad movie no matter what what way you spin it. So I don't blame her for being bad in that, because I don't think anybody besides, like I said, the exception of Loki is really good in that. But she's just kind of this character that just doesn't feel like she fits in this universe. It feels forced, even though she's with Thor in the comics. And she seems super smart, and then, the things she's doing in the movies are not super smart at all. Doesn't make any sense how she do the things she does. It just doesn't work for me, but hopefully with Waititi and this new role, she can come back to life. Next up, we have the Collector, who's just okay just because we haven't really seen a lot of him. And we obviously won't see more of him because he's dead unless something in Eternals shows it, because we don't know when that movie's taking place. I think it's confirmed to be a while ago, but we don't know how far back. Just an okay character. I mean, he's entertaining enough on screen, but he's really just there for exposition. Again, just one of those characters that just dump stuff that you need to know out onto the screen, and that's about it. We are down to our last 6, and we're starting off with Zendaya's Mary Jane. Great tier because of Far From Home alone. Homecoming, now you just learn it was just building up to it. She's way better than Liz in this area, though. I'm glad they went the way they did with this. She's a different take on Mary Jane, but it's actually interesting to see that she can be more than just a damsel in distress, because she is very smart, and she's just weird, and it works in this movie because they're both weird in their different ways, and it just works. Like I said, the chemistry seems to be there, and I'm excited to see more of her in the third Spider-Man. Next up, we have another Spider-Man supporting cast with Ned, who's cut off in this picture, but he goes in the great tier also. Great comedy relief. Him and Peter have a great relationship and chemistry there. It just works. You believe they're best friends, or people that would be kind of, not the losers in school, but just kind of on their own, just hanging out. And it just works, and Ned has some great moments helping Peter, obviously, in Homecoming, more than in Far From Home, but the fact that it's only him and Mary Jane, that no secret. I just like these three, just work perfectly together, and hopefully, I'm sure Mary Jane and Peter will be back, but hopefully Ned comes back in the next one. Next up, we have Peggy Carter, who's going in the good tier. As a character on her own, she's just fine. In the first one, Captain America, the First Avenger, she's a very good character. Other than that, she's just kind of there for Captain America to build up his story, but that's still good enough for me. The payoff with him and Peggy in Endgame is good enough to just put this character in the good tier just from that alone. Alright, we're coming down to the last three here. So, we have Ego the Living Planet, and this is the bottom shit tier for me. I don't care for this character at all. I find the whole thing weird. I don't care if this is how he is in the comics. The whole thing with him just having like a billion kids trying to find one like him and killing them and their mothers and stuff just doesn't work. The final battle is just completely CGI. And the fact that you don't know he's the villain as the viewer until the end when Peter finds out, it doesn't work as a twist really. It just kind of feels like, oh, so the first part of the movie kind of was pointless and now we're just going to watch a CGI battle that doesn't look very good, in my opinion. Next we have Hank Pym, who I'm going to put in the great tier. Does a great role in this. Him and Ant-Man's whole connection and how Ant-Man's dating Hank's daughter and stuff. I like that. There's some funny moments of that. You can see where he's coming from, where he's trying to, you know, help everybody and he's just trying to do the right thing. And just an entertaining character every time he's on the screen. No matter what he's doing, you're just interested. And part of that's probably because Michael Douglas is an amazing actor. But it's just interesting, and stuff with him and Janice, I believe, is her name, but could be wrong there. Honestly, I don't think that's her name at all. I don't even know why I said Janice, but it's Michelle Pfeiffer's character, that his wife. There's some really strong stuff there with those two and when he finds her in the quantum realm. So he goes in the great tier. And we have Yondu last. He goes in the good tier solely because of Guardians 2. Now, it is widely known I do not like this movie. Yondu is amazing in this. The whole thing with the Viking funeral is a beautiful scene. And the thing with him kind of being the dad role for Peter Quill really works for me, and I enjoy it a lot. Sad that he's gone, but he went out in a great way. That is the end of 53 of the main Marvel characters ranked. Let me know, do you agree with this or do you completely disagree? You can vote. I'm going to put a card up on the top of your screen now. Click yes or no if you agree with me. Let me know in the comments, who are your favorite heroes and characters in the MCU. I'll see you guys next time.